OJ over here from PlayerEssence, and welcome to the PE discussion kind of rant. I'm not really sure. I'm definitely not going to be yelling or anything like that when it comes to Square Enix, but you know what? They're kind of slipping just a little bit. Square Enix is kind of slipping, and I'll give you guys a couple of reasons why. Now, out of any of the third-party developers, I definitely don't want this video to be a bash Square Enix. This is not that. That's not what I'm trying to do. And I'm not trying to have the pitchforks raised. You guys know that I'm not trying to send pitchforks over to Square Enix or any of you guys to do that. But just some of the stuff that I've been seeing out of Square Enix lately, when it comes to Nintendo Switch, when it comes to things, they've been slipping quite a bit. And the reason why I say that is because I hold Square Enix to a higher standard than a lot of these other companies, okay? So we can't compare Capcom to this, although I did do a rant video somewhat, a Capcom being Capcom, I did do that, but we can't compare them at this point because I don't feel that Square Enix and Capcom are in the same league when it comes to it. Capcom has been doing Capcom things for a long time. Square Enix is a bit different. Although Square Enix has slipped up quite a bit before, but it seemed like they recovered. But let's talk about a couple of these things. So recently we did have the Secret of Mana 3D remake being announced, and obviously at this point we don't know if it's coming to Switch, or obviously it's not at this point. There's no official confirmation or anything like that. They just said PlayStation 4, they said PS Vita, and they said PC. Now we don't know 100% for sure like if Sony bought that, but I feel, and I talked about that in my latest podcast that I did with Shadow Fox, my PlayerEssence Cross Nintendo. Make sure you check that out when you get a chance. I talked about how I feel, and I presented my evidence of how I think that this game was purchased by Sony. Whether it's a timed exclusive or whether it's an actual exclusive outright, I just feel that it was, because Square Enix for the past couple years pretty much has abandoned the PS Vita. We've gotten literally no games on that platform, considering it's been dead, especially ever since the Nintendo Switch launched in Japan. The sales of the PS Vita have absolutely tanked, and just the sales of the PS Vita were already kind of going down beforehand, and it never really had a massive following in Japan. It just did okay. It just did okay. Either way, whatever the case is, Square Enix had pretty much stopped as far as any of their new releases. Lost Sphere, that's not coming to the PS Vita. Lots of other games that they've announced. There's no Dragon Quest. There's no Dragon Quest Builders 2. Obviously, there's no Final Fantasy version of it for the PS Vita. So whatever the case is, right? So they haven't really been announcing anything. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this game gets announced as far as the Secret of Mana 3D remake. A game, really, with Secret of Mana that pretty much Nintendo fans everywhere know and love. Now, it's going to be in the Super Nintendo Classic, not the 3D remake, but the original Secret of Mana. And who knows if it's ever going to end up on a virtual console for the Nintendo Switch. But either way, it was also in the Seikan Densetsu collection, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So Square Enix knows that Nintendo fans really would like to play this game on a Nintendo piece of hardware. Otherwise, why would they have the Seikan Densetsu collection on the Nintendo Switch so early in its life? And now they have this game here, and whatever deal that they made, whether it was paid for by Sony, if it was even to get greenlit or not, I think that should have been something that Square Enix did intrinsically. It shouldn't have to be, we need some money from Sony or from some other place just to even get this thing greenlit, especially if you look at the game. The game doesn't seem to be like it's going to be a crazy expensive game, and on top of that, it's a game that's a remake of something that you already have the base of. You already have something to look off of in order to say, okay, this is what this game is going to be. I don't know how much it costs. I don't really think there's going to be a ton of marketing behind it. It's not even getting a physical version, so even if you did want it, there's no physical version for the PlayStation 4, PS Vita, or PC here in the States, especially for those PS Vita owners. No physical version, no cartridge for them to play off of, so that's kind of crummy. So that's one thing where I say Square Enix is kind of slipping. That's fine. It's not coming to Nintendo Switch. Okay, that's a big blow. That's a big L, obviously, because a lot of people want to play this game. But on top of that, you're not even doing a physical edition for America. You're not doing a physical edition for Europe, for people who want that collector's like edition, that box, whereas Japan gets this amazing array of things when you're probably not even going to sell that many there. So it just has me scratching my head with Square Enix. What's going on with that? Because that's a very suspect move. I personally feel, like I said, Sony definitely paid for it. If it comes to Nintendo Switch down the line or later, we'll see. I definitely feel that it would do better on that system, obviously, but maybe there's some other reasons. We don't know at this point. But either way, just has me thinking Square Enix is a little bit slipping, even if you just discount the whole, okay, not coming to Switch, fine, but I can't even buy a physical version? Like, I can't even buy a physical version here in America? People in Europe can't even buy a physical version? Why? Like, what's the point of that? Now, moving on, I kind of alluded to this, is the whole Seikan Densetsu collection. So PlayStation gets it, they get it localized and everything, but we can't get a localization of Seikan Densetsu Collection for the Nintendo Switch. Why is that? I think there's a lot of people who love to have the Seikan Densetsu Collection, the physical version on their Switch to play any one of those 3 games. A lot of people probably haven't played that Game Boy game, and I would say most people haven't played Seikan Densetsu 3. So you don't even take the time to localize that, and it's been how long now? We've shown you that we wanted it. Pro Jared and many other big Nintendo YouTubers said, hey guys, like, we should do this, like, we should retweet this, because like one of the developers said, or I think M2, people said, hey, if you want it, let them know, and we let them know. There was tons of retweets, thousands, and there's been nothing on that. So where is that at, Square Enix? Like, don't get me wrong, they're putting out games. I mean, obviously Dragon Quest did phenomenal on the Nintendo 3DS. We got the announcement for Dragon Quest Builders 2. That's amazing on the Nintendo Switch. We got Lost Sphere. That's great. They did have I Am Setsuna at launch. Okay, that's great. We have Project Octopath. Okay, great as well. However, with this whole Seikan Densetsu thing, it seems like a little bit of a slap in the face to Nintendo fans, because the only way for us, as far as new age fans that are, playing the Switch, you have to buy the Super Nintendo Classic in order to play that game, or you have to import the Japanese version, which you won't be able to understand unless you know Japanese. So for us, it's kind of like, okay, well, we've been supporting this game, whether it's the re-releases or whatever the case is, for quite some time at this point, and it's unfortunate that Square Enix wouldn't at least take the time to localize that one, or get someone to localize it, because I think there's a fan translation of Seikan Densetsu 3 that they could use, or they could talk to them about. So it's just a little unfortunate that they haven't announced any plans. Now, Tokyo Game Show is coming up. Definitely all of this can change. So I don't want to sit here and say all this is set in stone. So this can change at Tokyo Game Show. There could be an announcement for some of these things. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But moving on to the last thing. So recently there was an article from, I think, Nintendo Everything, but there was an interview with IGN. I'm not 100% sure, and I'm sorry that I don't have that up right now. And I'll make sure to have the official link, but I don't want to go over it as an article, because it just kind of makes me a little upset. So recently we've talked about this whole Final Fantasy 15 thing, and whether it's the Pocket Edition or the normal edition or whatever the case is. Now really, Square Enix hasn't said either way, but recently in an interview they said that the Pocket Edition could definitely come to the Switch down the line. Now they didn't say, okay, the regular edition could come too, or anything like that. They just said, oh, it could. And I'm looking at it like, so let me get this straight, Square Enix. You're trying to tell me that the Nintendo Switch, a system with a powerful mobile chip as far as the Tegra X1 in there, customized with a large pool of RAM, and you're telling me that you're going to bring over the Pocket Mobile Edition, that it could definitely come over as far as the Pocket Mobile Edition. Now, I do feel that he's being a bit coy and just leaving anything up to interpretation. So I'm not saying that this is 100% definitive that we're not going to get the actual Final Fantasy 15, but the fact of him saying, the fact that him teasing, if that's what he was teasing, telling people, yeah, the Pocket Edition could come. So you're trying to tell me that a late Pocket Edition of a game that people would want as far as the regular edition of Final Fantasy, people want that console experience on the go, not the Pocket experience that you can already play on the go again with the Switch. So what you're trying to tell me is that you're going to bring a late version of that, of a game that people probably don't, as far as core fans, want to play. That's 100% not understanding what's going on. Like, that is not understanding who the Nintendo Switch fan base is. Maybe you've been just developing too hard on the Xbox and PlayStation to understand what Nintendo fans want. But I can guarantee you, if you go to any comment section of anyone who's talked about this as far as being the Pocket Edition or being the normal edition, there are not many people out there that say, yeah, bring the Pocket Edition of the game. The game isn't good enough to say bring the Pocket Edition. Overall, I've played Final Fantasy. I think it's great. It had its issues, but overall, I love the big world, and the graphics were great, and the RPG mechanics and the battle system. There's a lot of unique and innovative things and fun things about the game, but the game definitely isn't good enough to strip all of the graphics and strip the appeal as far as how it looks. It's not good enough to say, okay, bring this Pocket Edition that's built for single-handed play, which he even admitted in that same interview that, hey, you know what, we don't even have button controls yet for the game. So you're going to bring over a late button-controlled Pocket Edition of a game that came out from 2016, probably in 2018. That is probably the worst idea that Square Enix has put out in quite some time. Probably since like the battle system in Final Fantasy 13. That's one of the worst decisions that they could make. And I don't think that they're that dumb to make that decision, especially considering by that time we'll be seeing stuff like Dragon Quest XI on the Nintendo Switch, we're going to see that, and it's going to be the full version of the game. It's not going to be the 3DS version or some type of dumbed down version. It's going to be the Unreal Engine 4 version of the game. So the fact that we're going to have that, yet you're saying, okay, well, here's this. On top of that, we're going to have stuff like Xenoblade. We're going to have stuff like Skyrim. Why in the heck is anyone going to look at this and say, okay, yeah, this is what we want to play? A Pocket Edition. That is just disrespectful to Nintendo Switch fans who are looking for a real console experience on the go. They're not looking for a Pocket mobile experience ported over to another mobile device that's already has a better version on other platforms. They're not looking for that. So they're slipping a little bit. If he actually thinks that people want that, Square Enix is definitely in the wrong mindset. And that's why I say, you know, there's a few things here and there that lets me know, that lets me see that Square Enix is slipping. Now, once again, all of this could change at Tokyo Game Show. I'm not trying to say that any of this stuff that I've kind of expressed some concern about is set in stone, because it's not. But at the same time, I'm just expressing some concern based on what I'm seeing and calling a few things out as far as my own personal belief. Now, once again, I'm not trying to put up the pitchforks, not trying to tell you to go storm the Square Enix HQ. However, I will say that you definitely need to vote with your wallet. So when some of these things come about, definitely vote with your wallet, and that's what I'm going to be doing. If some of this stuff comes into fruition as far as what they're saying, I'm definitely not going to be purchasing it. You know, that's something that I'm not going to do because I let my wallet do the talking. So Square Enix, like I said, great company. They are supporting the Nintendo Switch. I've mentioned a number of games that are coming. I'm really hyped about Dragon Quest Builders. I'm really hyped about Lost Sphere. I think Dragon Quest 11 is going to be really cool, but there's a couple things here and there that are a little bit suspect. So let me know what you guys think about this. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. It really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across the internet in addition to YouTube. Also make sure you check out our Patreon page. Pledge any tier and be entered to win some awesome prizes. In addition to that, we have Discord voice chat and $10 prize eShop totals for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and more. Support PE Live and PE Arena right here on PlayerEssence. Also, make sure you hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest news, reviews, discussions, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you ninja for the next video. Peace.